I think Origin's always been, from the beginning, I would say pioneered. They were one of the first bands to do the space bit, the whole amateur astronomer. And I think it stays along those lines. I've tried to keep it along those lines. It's like I took over primarily the songwriting on Omnipresent and for this one. And because Paul and Mike don't want to be fucked with it, so I'll do it. It's fun. It's my job. I only have one. And I try to stay as much along those lines as possible, as far along the lines of, like I said, totally amateur. What would we call it? Amateur astrophysics.
Amateur astrophysics.
And it's just whatever is, it's fascinating to us in general, and any kind of stuff like that, or whatever philosophy or psychology, anything that's just interesting to us at the time. I think the Omnipresent was kind of more of a front-to-back space rock opera, in my mind at least, as writing it. But,
I can see that.
So this is more of the tracks are more individual for what they're about. Some of it's about, and some of the content is just goofy stuff that I'm into at the time, because we're all giant nerds, and I've been on a kick of the Dune book series, so if you're versed on that, I'm sure you can find a couple references in there for that. Some subtle, some not so subtle.
Right.
But so it's just whatever interests us at the time, whatever's cool. I think on the last album there was a song or two that was about like comic books that I thought were rad. But it's better obviously to leave it up to interpretation and keep it ambiguous. I try not to be, I'm not singing about fucking Wolverine slashing people.
Right.
Like some bands. Generally, I like to wait for the music first. I don't sit and I don't have like notebooks full of like lyrics and poetry or whatever that, I know some people do that. And if it works for them, that's great. But I like to have the music in front of me and write around the music. So some of these, my part comes last, when everything else is finished. So some of it, we've been here, we've had plenty of time in Kansas. John and I came from New York, Paul came from California. So we've had plenty of time here to prepare, and I think this has been one of the most prepared albums they've done in like years, most ready to go right off the bat. I think they had a history. Omnipresent wasn't that bad, but before me, I think they had a history of just frantic scramble in the studio to get shit done. But it always turned out great results, so
Absolutely.
Can't really complain.
Hello everyone, this is Ken Larson with The Gauntlet. Welcome to tonight's interview, Metallians. We have Origin, the godfathers of tech death. And with us from Origin is Jason Kaiser, the front man and leader of the band. So Jason is in New York where it's late. And he's been good enough to talk to us tonight. How are you doing tonight, Jason?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, this is how we do. We're used to the late night work of, not even hitting the stage until midnight or so half the time. So this is no problem for me. Let's get it on.
That's cool. That's very cool. All right. So when I started out, I referred to you as the godfathers of tech death. I've been doing a lot since yesterday, did a lot of research. I think that could be as close to true as someone could get. There's others that would probably try to claim that, but you're right there in the, and you have the same guitarist and writer since then. So the question is, how does that strike you? What is it? How does that that title come across with you?
I think it's the band, as a whole. Like the entity that is Origin, it's fair. I think it's a fair enough assumption to say that it's like the godfather of the tech death, at least as far as the Paul Ryan and his guitar technique and style. I think absolutely a lot of people like that a lot of the bands that do that similar uh, whole genre today, I would be hard pressed to say that they didn't use him. He wasn't some inspiration, and but we're all like wicked humble dudes where we don't even we. It's like hard for us to each of us individually, I think, has the same suffer from the same syndrome of it being really hard for us to accept those kind of compliments. If you tell Paul like, "Oh, you are the one that inspired us to do this," he would just kind of be like, "Ah, nah," and kind of be wicked, be very chill about it. It's just kind of the way we are. So even hearing it and hearing it now that the band is 20 years on for him is still a little like what really like a little jarring for us because it's all just that community of we're all in this extreme music lifestyle together. It's not a competition. We're just doing what we do, and I think it's a great thing that we could be considered that. I'm sure in some of the writing styles of like content, there's definitely bands have done that kind of space bit before, like Voivod or even what is that, the Nocturnus and stuff like that. Bands that have like totally been centered on that, but the distinct guitar style, it's definitely a Paul Ryan signature, and it's good to have a legacy. I guess can't complain.
Yeah, definitely, and it's solid. Speaking of Paul Ryan, there is a new Origin album coming out the end of this month on the 30th. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Entitled "Unparalleled Universe." I've listened to the record several times, and of course the singles that came off of it and have been it's on heavy rotation here at my house. It's a very good record, not a bad track on it, and it received a from Outburn a 10 of 10. How does that feel?
I think that they dig us. I was looking through old back issues when I saw that, and I think they gave us a 10 of 10 last time too. So they might be a little biased in favor of us, but I'll take it anytime. I think from what I remember seeing, we got an 8 out of 10 out of Decibel, and it's just been great reviews all around. So it's already topping, Omnipresent, which some people saw as like a little bit more too much of a divergence from our particular style. So I mean, we're stoked on it. I don't think anybody will be disappointed. There's literally something for everybody's taste, at least in a little slice here and there on the album. So if you want it fast, you got it fast. If you want it brutal, you got it brutal. There's a suffocation breakdown or two in there too. So there's even some epic scream from the mountaintop, progressive death metal style. So we cover all our bases on this one.
That's fantastic. It really is. And folks, you've got 8 days of a countdown. We'll get out there and pre-order this masterpiece.
And the pre-ordering thing, just a comment on that, is that it's kind of something I've been realizing, the shifting dynamics of how you're represented in sales. How it used to be, first week was the most important, and then now it's shifted so much from, because nobody's buying anything in stores anymore, pre-ordering becomes a much more important element than even first week sales, because who's going out, like I'm sure we'll be in FYE or whatever, those big chains and stuff, but there's no mom and pop record stores. There's no who waits and go. I have utmost respect for people that do, but it's a dying art of going out to a store, physically purchasing a copy, holding it, like enjoying it, holding on to it, like reading everything for the first time. And so yeah, nowadays, like even online sales are not as important. It's all about that pre-order. So definitely pick it up if you can.
Yeah. So, let's support these guys and support metal in general, because as Jason was saying, it's a different game than it was, and artists of all kinds need to be rewarded for producing great art. So
well, it's not even as much rewarding. It helps. The kind of thing is that it helps us help you. Like if you support the bands that you enjoy, it makes labels pay more attention to them and gives them more exposure to give you more of the music you enjoy. Like if you just stream or download, bootleg something that you love and have respect for, you're only hurting them and hurting yourself, because eventually, that'll reflect, and then it's harder to keep pumping out those masterworks. So we're not million plus record sales type bands. Every single pre-order counts. Every pre-order, every purchase. If you see us on the road, buy a track from us, that all counts. Don't download
it. All right, so that's cool. I still buy media.
Yeah, and I think the metal genre is not really somebody I have to preach to. I feel like their fans are dedicated and want to have physical copies. It's important. It's important for the collection, the wall of CDs. So it's not really something you have to preach to. Maybe it's a younger generation type thing. I'm only like 35, so I feel like I'm just getting old enough to start to complain about a younger generation. So these kids these days. But we appreciate every single, admission of praise and every single pre-order, every single purchase. It's all fantastic.
So thanks everybody for that. Is the message, and that goes across the board really. But I like to have the artifact, like I said. Now, speaking of artifacts, I understand you have a degree in anthropology.
This is true.
Okay. Do you plan to get advanced degrees at some point?
I mean, it's a tricky field to advance in. You got to be all in, gung ho, to even know exactly what you want to do. And I'm much more interested in continuing the this D-level death metal band celebrity status and going on with that, because I love touring more than anything. And like if I ideally, because I did a lot of studies, my studies in college was in Africa and India, and ideally I would do some work in those areas, but I don't have a specific purpose at the moment or goal, so I think I'm going to stick with what I'm doing.
Yeah, you have the best job in the world, but I've always maintained that the second best job is tenured professor. So, and
that's just a lot of work. And
yeah, but you have to take a sabbatical. It's like you are ordered to take one.
That ain't bad.
I don't know. It pays well. You can't be fired. I think it's a good thing, but
it seems like a lot of work to me. Yeah. I got to go down the totem pole of effort into something. The lazier the job, the better. Like, I'd much rather go to just live in some backwoods jungle somewhere and just do some kind of menial, helpful work with that, and like not have a 9-to-5 is the ideal. Like, sure. The ideal for anybody shouldn't be a high-paying, high-stress job. It should be the least stressful job you can have in your life. Like, being in a death metal band is down there. It's very low stress. I get paid to drink, basically.
Yeah, but when you hit the stage, it's all worthwhile. That's what I've been told.
My only exercise in the course of a day is the running top speed for 45 minutes straight. Basically, it's pure cardio. Sweat out all the beer.
Well, that works, man. Keeps you nimble. Okay, so Omnipresent, this album is a lyrical masterpiece. You are the lyricist, and I really mean that, because of the themes are the big questions. And so could you discuss, there is a since a lot of the singles, I think one of the singles or two of them had the lyrics on the screen, but there's a preamble kind of thing that was written that says, what does it say here? I got it right here. Origin has the following statement regarding the existential mindfuck of a record soon to be unleashed upon the unsuspecting carbon-based life forms of the universe. And then it goes into this thing about Einstein. And folks, this is posted in the post with the interview, so you'll be able to read it. But it's really mind-blowing in a way. What is the theme, ethos, the core message here?
Well, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, about it being all the tech death space thing, and that's always been lyrically a theme for Origin as well, is just kind of, pontificating on the greater questions of existence and stuff like that, and we don't necessarily stick to the technical aspects of it, of some other bands like Wormed or whatever, that when you read the lyrics it reads like a science textbook and shit, which is fine. I love that stuff, but for us it's always been more of a the philosophical questions of our role in the vast Lovecraftian expanse of unknown and indifferent elements that have completely no regard for our being here as conscious beings. We could be blinked out or not forever, and it wouldn't even be a flick in the spectrum of things. And it's basically what most of thematically has been how we deal with that as conscious, self-aware beings, and how we grasp time, how we grasp our own existence. It's a lot of kind of downer existential crises, basically. So we that's always been our theme with that. And as far as the write-up, it came with the bio for the album for labels and magazines and stuff like that, and it's actually a doctoral thesis written by a close family member of mine who is an English professor who was fascinated exactly kind of by the same elements. He noticed that was an ongoing theme in Origin's lyrics, and he volunteered to write I think he's up to about 35 pages now, a doctoral dissection of the lyrics in its most divided form, and referencing Descartes and Socrates and the Bible, and just how it all ties together and what it means in this deconstruction of my lyrics, which, as I wrote them, it makes me feel a lot smarter that he could pull out what he's been pulling out. And I think we're going to print them out and have them for sale as kind of a equivalent to like a tab book, but a thesis paper about 30-40 pages that breaks down the entire themes of the album from a educated outsider's point of view. So that's what that's all about.
I just got to say, that is the coolest thing I've heard in a long, long time.
Hope we can pull it off. I hope we can pull it off in the next couple of weeks. I know he's still working on it, but he's trying to get it done, and he's really excited about the project too. So we'll probably have him on the table on Summer Slaughter if we get our shit together.
Yeah, you'll probably get some press out of that too. Okay, so in looking at this, the conclusion here is, we're in a finite universe, and all of our infinite theory and ultimately small theory, quantum and quanta, and Einstein's relativity, etc., leads us to is only fantasy for us to give us comfort, when really it's finite and it all ends. Everything ends. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, I mean that's kind of a running theme for everything. It's all just a bum out. Everything is just a bum out. If you want to like break it down into the most basic way to explain it, everything's sad and we're gonna die and that's it. There's nothing else.
That's very, like you said, Lovecraftian, the very indifferent cosmos, which is terrifying, which made his work so terrifying, actually.
But when you think about it, it's only terrifying in contrast to our inherent ego of just being conscious. Every individual, however 9 billion of us, thinks we are the master of our own realm, and if only stripping that is the only way to break out of that fear, to deep down in your deepest part, like accept that there is nothing and no control and your own insignificance is the only way to break free from that, because we're trapped in thinking the sun won't explode someday, which it will, and it's all for nothing. Like all your lineage, the 13 billion years. Every life form that had to survive to the next, the unbroken chain that got us here. And even the billions of years before that brought molecules from exploding stars and shit. Like all works just for us to be sitting here on a computer today, and it's all going to end, and it's depressing.
Yeah.
And that's the album.
Oh man, that's intense. It's very intense. But you know, some people look at existentialism as a comforting situation, you know, and some people look at it as they can't get to the point, really, you know. Anyway, that depressive part.
Yes, we're boosters. We're here to ruin the day. We come here, we put our album on, it'll fuck up the party.
Yeah, we really do think we're pretty important here on Earth, and we are nothing but mold on a mud ball.
There you go.
And you know, 5 billion years, we're just a blip. And you know, you could stop paying your bills for the rest of your life, and it wouldn't fucking matter.
I haven't paid bills in a long time. I live.
Yeah. Nobody would. Yeah, that's funny. So let me close this up here real quick. Do you believe that the universe is deterministic?
What do you mean?
That it's predetermined.
My personal opinion on it?
Yeah. Is free will an illusion?
If you ask me personally, I would 100% say yeah. I would say we exist in a collection of stagnant instants that we only, you know, we see in an instant. We can have a memory of the past and have a perception of the future, but it's only a collection of instants of stagnant moments that you know, it's there's a little one of the songs even on the Origin album is heavily based on concepts of time and like the paradox of motion. How if it's an old Greek theory of if you draw a bow and release an arrow, you can at any given point in the period between, you know, the arrow traveling through the air, at any solid instant, it's frozen in motion. It's in one space. So if it's in one space at any instant, its movement is just a collection of instants, and that means motion is an illusion, and that means everything is just a collection of stagnant, like snapshot images of existence. And so that's a bum out, because that means that exactly free will is totally an illusion. Everything is there and not changing and never will and never has been. So enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it while you can. Okay, I got two questions. Would you take a pill that would guarantee you immortality if I gave you one?
That is a stupid question. No, I can't die. I'm looking forward to dying. It's like next on the bucket list, so to speak.
Okay.
So, no, absolutely not. That sounds terrible. Okay, what's the next question?
The next question, your death metal band. I think you've already answered this. And things have changed a lot in death metal, certainly in your themes. But what happens when you die? It's like going to bed at night. You don't know nothing. It just blinks out. You know. Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to get. You know, we've done enough of the philosophical, I think. But yeah, if you ask me personally, I think nothing. Okay. But then again, who knows? I'm not qualified to answer these questions. Okay, well, yeah, I appreciate you doing it anyway. Yeah. Okay, so folks, we're gonna close up here with Jason Kaiser of Origin, and you guys are on tour starting the end of July on the Summer Slaughter tour with several other bands. So get out and catch them on that. Pre-order this record so we can get them to debut and chart and bow out in the. I think their last record was the last record had Heat Seekers that made 10, I think, at the bow out. So love to see some charting from metal bands, and thank you, Jason, for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you. Cheers.